Hello, my name is Julia Thayer. Welcome to Fernbank Garden Tour. I filmed this just after our garden open in June 2018. It was only intended to be a personal record, but now that we're staying at home, I thought you might like to have a look around. I've made a few edits, but it still swings about a lot, so just press pause on anything you want to look at. The plot is about 1/3 of an acre, and we'll start at the top left of the map. I put a pump in one of my dipping barrels in the Mediterranean area, so we hear the sound of running water when we're sitting on the pew, which is set in a sunny spot and is roofed with the wood from an old dog kennel. I like to entertain the visiting children, so the 30-year-old Wendy house, which really has seen better days, is hosting a teddy bear picnic. And there's also a well-stocked dresser. When we arrived in 1995, the big shed didn't have any windows, so I cut a hole in the wall and created one. We come through the gate to the new tiger shed, where I display my old doll's house. Also inside, there's a model of a scene from The Secret Garden, which I was asked to make for the village flower show. Behind the shed are some pieces of my collection of galvanised metal. Come along the path. On our right is the patio. And ahead of us is a little figure suspended between the trees. If you look to the right here, you see the back of the house again and the patio. Before the garden open, I washed the trunk of the silver birch on the left. If you look round from this junction, you'll see a path that takes you back to the patio. We now come through an arch and approach the wildlife pond. Here the grass snakes hunt for frogs and the kingfisher dives for sticklebacks. There are also great diving beetles, newts, toads and dragonflies in this peaceful spot. We even had a friendly pair of mallards make their home here for a couple of seasons. This is the vegetable garden with a scarecrow and Victorian-style cloche. We've knocked down the old greenhouse ready for a new one, but this is what it looked like the previous week. We come past the strawberries growing in the top of the fence and approach the potting shed. I used strips of lead to decorate the windows and put a display of pots outside. Oh, I've put some trays of young plants here since we opened the garden. Let's go inside. Mr. Bones, the old gardener, sits on the bench surrounded by paraphernalia. The shed is filled to the brim with stuff, including my grandmother's ski boots, an old scarecrow, my mother-in-law's garden sieve, my neighbour's pots, my grandfather's tools, and my sister's boxes. We come back to the vegetable garden, past the strawberries again. I can hardly resist. I made the cloche from strips of wood and plastic sheeting. I also made the beehive. It has holes at the back and compartments for insects. Behind the bamboo screening are water butts which collect rain from the church roof. Here's the greenhouse again. Rhubarb is protected by a box hedge which I grew from cuttings. We walk past the fig tree which enjoys the sun here and through the tiny gateway to the arbour and pump. Here's the staging and trays of mind your own business awaiting return to the new greenhouse. I put a pump in here too. This is what it looks like without the staging. I recovered these Edwardian chairs in striped fabric and set them up for the visitors. In a minute we whiz past the house which was built as a wedding present in 1871. And this is looking through to the hut in the front garden. My mum gave me the aluminium table and chairs, and my children gave me the gorgeous cocoon swinging seat. The Sheppey family built the Methodist church in the garden in 1876 and planted the copper beech tree to commemorate the birth of the first son, Uncle Percy. Under the beech tree I keep my collection of driftwood and tree stumps. One of them looks very like my grandfather. Through the hedge we come to the compost heaps where I have garden compost, manure, seaweed, comfrey liquid and leaf mould. Oops, the scarecrow is very enthusiastic about it. Let's leave her hanging there and make our way to the front garden. Ahead of us is the original laurel hedge. And this is another shed which I've decorated as a beach hut. I'll show you inside. When the garden's open, I play a tape of the seaside to add to the atmosphere. There's an old typewriter to write your poetry, some oars and chairs to relax as you take your tea. My father made the treehouse model for me in 1958, and stripy garden chairs are stacked here today. We come back outside into the sunshine. A very old scarecrow lounges in the hammock because she's too floppy to stand up. When the garden's open, I put a cup of tea next to her. That's not her tea. Percy the parrot is happy in his Victorian birdcage. After all, he's only made of polystyrene and chicken feathers. The geraniums all came out of the greenhouse. And I made the window out of MDF and the roof from featherboard. Tree bumblebees have made a home for themselves in the bird box by the front door. Luckily they didn't mind at all when I took the box down, thinking it was empty. All the ferns in the front are in pots, as well as the silver-leaved pear tree, an anniversary present from my husband in 1990. We're coming through to the drive now. Oh, and here's our useful empty pot. For the garden open, I decorate my bike with baskets of herbs and flowers. I love cabbage plants and put red cabbages in the hanging basket on the porch. All the plants here are in pots, so you can imagine how long it takes to water every evening. We come through to the veranda where I pot my plants under the washing lines. The strelitzia is still in flower on the left, and the big red leaves are cannas. Pelargoniums surround the table, so there's only just room for us to sit. Oh, hello, Henry. We come past Apollo on our way to the veranda again. I grow more red cabbages here, and beneath the sewing machine tables I display another collection of pots. These are echeverias on the windowsill. We'll turn round and look down the path towards the patio. On the right is a Victorian plant stand. And here are some more hanging baskets. The raised pond is right outside the conservatory. All the plants on the patio are in pots as well. Here are my herbs for the kitchen and slates with Culpepper's descriptions painted on them. Oh, and here's Henry again. He's a Burmese bantam. It's such a small breed you can fit several chicks in one hand. The Lutyens' bench is framed by hostas, box and a tree fern. And this is the little lawn to the left. The acer is also in a pot. We're coming back to the drive now. To speed up the watering in the evenings, I have dipping barrels hidden amongst the pots. They're fed by hose pipes from the water butts and controlled by ball valves, so there's always water available. We're now looking back down the drive to the wisteria on the wall. This is what it looks like in April, and the perfume is gorgeous. We're on the final leg now, as we go through to more plants in pots and my mother's French cafe chair. The bamboos are hiding water butts. I grow acers on the homemade table and some more pots beneath. These plants also hide water butts. And here's another window on the big shed. I play a tape of cicadas here to bring us to the south of France when the garden is open. Finally, we come through the jungle past the French bird cages to another window on the garage this time. Here's the fireplace and pew again, and we finish at the Wendy house. I hope you've enjoyed the tour and I haven't made you feel sick. Bye.